There's an old proverb that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This is true even today, because you have to walk outside to catch the Uber that's taking you to the airport. Amazing how ancient wisdom still holds up like that. Now, what the old dead person who came up with that forgot to mention is that the first step is way harder to take than all the other steps. By the time you're walking away from where you live, you've already made a lot of progress. If you wake up, drink some water, throw workout clothes on, strap on your watch, put on shoes, stretch, and walk outside, you're a lot more likely to go for a run in the morning. But where most people fail to go for a run is not that they get all the way out there, warmed up, dressed, hydrated, go 100 meters, and then turn around and come back because 101 meters out and back would be too many. It's that they don't do any of those things. They hit snooze on their alarm and go back to sleep. In fact, most people just never decide to do something like go for a run in the first place. Now that I'm famous in one specific room of a convention center on a day when a LAN is being hosted, if Splatoon is one of the events at the LAN, a lot of people come to me asking how to do things. I want to make a team. How do I do that? I want to get into content creation. How should I start? I want to learn this weapon. How should I learn it? I used to be famous in one specific school building at a time, and it brings back memories of when a student would come to me saying, I have to write an essay. How should I start? The answer I'd give them then was that they should stare at the cursor blinking on a blank page of a Word document, thinking about how awesome this essay is going to be once it's done, and not writing the first word of it until that first word is going to be perfect. I totally got you guys. That was a lie. I've been working on lying lately. I'm getting really good at it. Here's the thing about people. People learn from making mistakes. If you want to make something well, you're going to have to make mistakes first and learn from those mistakes so you can make the next thing better. I know it would be so cool to just make the best thing, the individual single best thing that exists on the first try, and then throw deuces to the world and fly off on the private jet you were able to buy with the money you made because everyone saw your thing and was like, wow, that's so cool, here's my life savings, with the cute girlfriend you made by doing that one thing so well, and flying off into the sunset forever by flying fast enough to keep up with the revolution of the earth so it'll always be sunset outside your window. But I am the only person who's ever managed to do that, and it's because I'm cooler than you, so sorry, you'll have to mess up at least one entire time first. The idea that you might not be good at something when you try it, and that because of that, it might just not be for you, is silly. Of course you're not going to be good at it when you try it. It's the first time you've done it. People talk all the time about whether someone's talented, a natural, whether we're predisposed to doing one job or another. And yeah, genetic predispositions do exist to skills, but if you're talented at Splatoon and have played it for 50 hours, and someone else is untalented at it and has 4,000 hours, I'm not picking you. I'm picking them. They have 4,000 hours in it. If you want to make EDM music and you haven't actually made a song yet, that's cool, but it would be cooler if you had made a song. Maybe you think it's trash, but you know what? Now you have something you can learn from. Now you can go, okay, why does this part not sound like it sounded in my head? And mess around with it to try and get it there. Or maybe the problem is that you tried to compose the whole song from just keeping your vision for it in your head the whole time, instead of writing out the good ideas when you had them so you could remember them better. Or maybe you haven't listened to enough EDM to have an idea of what's possible, or what software to use, or what other successful producers' workflows look like. Maybe you could stand to take a little bit of music theory to answer some specific questions, like how to write a melody that doesn't sound like a 7-year-old pressing random piano keys one at a time. You won't even know what it is that you don't know until you try to do the thing and give yourself a chance to screw it up. You'll be surprised what you can know or intuitively figure out about something if you just stop and let yourself puzzle it out for more than a few seconds before giving up on it. I hate it when I ask a student a question they're fully capable of figuring out, and they just go, for 5 seconds and say, I don't know, and stop thinking about it, then and there. Sometimes it's like doing a jigsaw puzzle or a Sudoku or a crossword or something. It's not going to come together all at once, but you can do it if you keep turning it around in your brain, looking at it until the pieces fit. But you've got to be willing to sit with it and be comfortable not knowing what you're doing yet. If you immediately reach the conclusion, I don't know all the answers, therefore I need someone else to help me or do it for me, you're giving up too quickly. What resources do you have before you ask someone else to help you one-on-one? Have you ever once Googled the problem you're having? Are there guide videos for how to do this thing on YouTube? The thing about teachers is that their time is limited, and there are not as many teachers as there are students. As much as the students can help themselves, that makes it so that when they finally get to the part that the teacher actually does need to help them with, the teacher has the time to help them with it. And maybe you'll have no idea what you're screwing up when you make a thing. Maybe you do eventually need to get some help from someone else at some point. But if you've made a thing and you bring that thing to someone else, now they actually have something concrete they can see and help you with. They don't have to read your mind to figure out what you need to hear. They can see a tangible product of your work and look at it the way your audience or intended user is going to see that thing. Now they can point out your mistakes instead of guessing what mistakes you would make before you ever make them. Ever since I started running Smash events, I've heard so many people tell me they're not good enough to compete in tournaments yet. And that is completely backwards. They're not as skilled at the game as they want to be yet because they haven't just gone and competed in tournaments. If someone's competed in hundreds of tournaments and they're still not learning as fast as other people are, maybe that's normal, or maybe there's something else going on. But now that they've been to tournaments and you've had a chance to see them play, asking questions is actually helpful. But in all of these situations, you have to take some initiative. You have to do the thing a little bit on your own without someone telling you to do it first. Shia LaBeouf had a viral meme a while back where he did this goofy motivational speech where he just yelled, "Just do it!" at you over and over. And he looks really silly doing it, and inspirational speeches deserve to be mocked because people pay way too much for those speaking engagements. But he's also right. That's all you have to do. Just do the thing. Take the initiative. Stop planning to do it and do it. Make 100 crappy things instead of hesitating forever to make the one perfect thing you think you're going to make, but actually it won't be perfect because you've never made anything before, so of course it's not going to be perfect, and whenever you start trying to make the perfect thing, you'll realize it's not perfect, and so you give up on making it for now because you have to learn more first before it'll be perfect, and you never try to learn more because you never make anything. Sure, the first 43 things are going to be really crappy, but then by the 44th thing, it'll be a little less crappy. And maybe by the 78th thing, it won't be that crappy at all. And by now you'll realize why the perfect thing you wanted to make first wouldn't have been perfect, and you can make something better. I cannot teach you to take initiative. I can't do it. Your friends can't do it. Your teachers can't do it. Your parents can't do it. Your politicians can't do it. Your favorite social media influencer can't do it. Because if they're telling you to go do a thing, you're not doing it because you decided to do it. You're doing it because they decided for you to do it. It's so insanely important not to do things because those people decided for you to do it. We don't learn anything, and we don't progress as a society if we just do what people tell us to do. You don't get signed to a music label before you make any music. You make something sick first, then you come to the music label and go, "Hey, I made this thing, and it's good, and you don't have it. It would be stupid for you not to give me money to make this for you." And you have a lawyer negotiate your contract because you know you're that good, and that they need you more than you need them, and you only sign with them if their deal is going to help you make what you want to make better because this is your career, your art, you're the one who's making the cool thing, not them. Don't be what a system wants you to be. Be too big and too good for that system to not accommodate you and what you're doing. That's not to say that you shouldn't ever work for anyone else, but even when you're working for someone else, there will probably be problems in your process that you can foresee that the person who gave you instructions did not foresee. It's up to you to tackle those problems. It's also up to you to give criticism of those instructions if that criticism is necessary. You should be your own person even as you're working toward a common goal, and spot out when there's a problem that you can avoid because you saw it and you spoke up about it and you took the initiative to have a conversation that wasn't going to be started otherwise. If you put the school you're trying to get into or the job you're applying for on a pedestal, if you think you need an Ivy League school to succeed, you need a prestigious internship to succeed, you're probably not going to be successful or get in because you're thinking that that organization has all the value here. Go into an interview at Harvard asking them, what is Harvard going to do for me? Do you have this thing that would help me learn and get better at what I want to get better at? Are there faculty who share my interests here? Chances are you're not going to get into Harvard no matter how good an applicant you are, but if you're good enough to get into Harvard, you're good enough to be successful somewhere else too. And you're going to already be doing something cool before you get there that you're going to keep working on doing regardless of whether you make it in. This is why my advice for people in school is to do something on their own outside of school. Pick up a hobby that you know better than your parents and learn it better than they'll ever be able to help you learn it. When you start applying for colleges, it's one thing to tell them you took a coding class at your school. It's another thing to tell them that you taught yourself multiple coding languages and you have a game you made that you can show them if they want to see it. When people hear that, they'll be like, well, yeah, that student's obviously the better candidate. But literally the only thing that person did differently was take more initiative. All they did was decide to do a thing. They sat at a computer and opened up a few web pages and a software that lets them write code, and they did the thing. They don't have to be smarter than the one who took the coding class. If anything, they're probably getting worse grades because they're spending time at home making their game instead of studying for their other classes. But if you like the thing you're doing, then actually go do it. I'd rather a student get a B in my class because they're busy making that game they care about than get an A in my class and only ever do things because their parents tell them they need to get into a good school. Want to get better at Splatoon than you are? Play more Splatoon. Watch your matches back after you play Splatoon. Watch top players play Splatoon. Compare your matches to the matches the top players are playing. Play a game of Spot the Differences. Those answers are really simple and you could have come up with them yourself, but they're some of the best advice I can give. Sometimes you can tell someone to go out and learn about something, they'll decide that they don't know it and give up, and then you sit them down at a whiteboard and you have them brainstorm ways to get better at this thing, and they'll list 12 things they didn't do. Don't want to get better at Splatoon and just want to spend quality time with your family and friends who play it? That's awesome. That's way healthier than being like, I want to be the best because the Pokemon anime told me I should want to be the best. But if that's all you care about doing, spending time with your family and friends, you probably aren't worrying too much to ask me questions about how to do something better, because that's not really the part of it that matters to you. Most of the time, we know things we can do to improve, and it's just a matter of deciding to do them. If we think we want to do something and repeatedly decide not to do it, maybe reconsider whether it's actually something you want to do. And maybe that gets you to some answers about yourself. If someone tells me that they want to become the best Splatoon player in North America, and they're not scrimming or VOD reviewing for hours every single day, what I'm going to tell them is that I don't think they really want to be the best Splatoon player in North America, and we should figure out what would actually make them happy. If you want to get better at Splatoon, I give you my videos. I recommend the Gems Picks playlist if you're looking for somewhere to start. If you want to get better at content creation, I recommend Ludwig's video on the content creation pipeline, link in the description. If you're already getting high grades and you want to get better at school, stop wanting that. Because you're not going to be in school your whole life, and those skills stop being useful eventually. Instead of worrying about how to get grades and negotiating with teachers, think about how maybe your skills that you're learning from those classes will help, or how the negotiation skills you're developing will help, and try to figure out a path forward into an actual career. Pick something besides killing time, waiting for things to happen to you, besides doing what's expected of you, and go take initiative and do the thing that you want to do.